What's up, everybody? It's Keefy from Ghost Cult Magazine, ghostcultmag.com, and we're here in beautiful Greenpoint, Brooklyn with Cloak. What is up, man?
Oh, not too much. Fourth day of the tour.
Yes.
It's been going really, really well so far. I'm a little hoarse, as you can hear, so it's been pretty energetic and chaotic and wild shows so far. Good crowds. Yeah, I mean, it's no issue so far, so it's been really good.
Killer. And of course, we're talking about the Killer Tour with 1349 and UADA. But sold out show tonight here at Brooklyn, so killer.
Yeah, one in Asheville too, which was very surprising because we haven't had the best shows there, so it was refreshing.
You don't say. Any particular reason why?
No,
I'm big
really
black
not
metal
sure.
fans in Tennessee.
Asheville, North Carolina.
Asheville. Sorry,
yeah.
so I'm just all fucked
it
up.
happens. No, yeah, we really, so it was refreshing to have some packed shows there, and actually Baltimore too, because Baltimore, we've kind of had hit or miss shows as well, but you know, the package of this tour is just so perfect to me. So I think it's just gonna go good the whole time.
Killer, man. I know that you guys are not. I followed the band for a long time. I'm super pumped about the new album, The Burning Dawn, out now on Season of Mist, by the way. And I followed the band for a long time, and I always found it interesting. There's a lot of black metal inspired or influenced bands in the Southeast, but not from Atlanta, which is always like sludge metal and stoner rock and progressive metal. So very interesting that you guys came from there and don't have any of that DNA in you much.
Yeah, it's weird. It's pretty weird. The guys involved have a very unique taste and sort of a special interest in, I guess, what we were all looking for when we formed the band. I mean, even our newer member Billy had that, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. We all just kind of seeked something different than a lot of the Southern bands did, and a lot of people even say there's a Southern sludge element in our music. I can't really hear that. I honestly don't listen to any sludge. I listen to maybe like 2 doom bands, period. It's just, I don't know. It's just not really my thing. I can't really tell you what it is. Me and Sean come from sort of a hardcore and punk background, so that's sort of intertwined a little bit in the Cloak sound. I don't think it'll ever really leave the way that I go about and write music, just with that more aggressive and kind of angry edge to the delivery of the vocals or the guitar. And so I don't know, it's hard to say, but yeah, it's definitely different. But that doesn't to say that Atlanta doesn't have some great black and death metal bands though, because we do.
Oh, for sure. I just the bands that have come out from there, certainly you've got a litany of different groups. I will say that it's very interesting that I think there's a really interesting kinship between hardcore punk and black metal. You couldn't always say that, but I think there is now. It's really interesting. What are some of your favorite punk bands?
I grew up on bands like Discharge, Conflict, a lot of the really just aggressive UK bands like that, a lot of American hardcore. Black Flag and Misfits, still one of my favorite bands. So that'll always kind of be with me. A lot of Scandinavian hardcore as well. So there's just, that was definitely what influenced me a lot, especially with writing, in the past. But and I think you can find traces of Discharge and GBH in bands like Bathory, or even a little bit, even bands like Venom or something. They have that UK sound, and Venom and Bathory were the first black metal bands I got into, and it makes sense because they sound a lot like that early UK punk stuff.
It's true, they have that similar aesthetic. I always thought that, actually. I'm sure like years ago punks wouldn't have wanted to be associated with anybody else, and the black metal dudes definitely didn't want to be associated with punks.
It was a lot, it was different. But I mean, if you read about a lot of those old Scandinavian black metal bands as well, they were into a lot of punk before. I mean, bands like Mayhem and Bathory, of course, were into that stuff. So it all traces back to rock and roll in the first place. So it's, it doesn't matter what genre as long as it's sincere.
Killer. Let's talk for a second about the record, because I don't want to lose the chance to just drop how great this record is. It's really complete all the way through, and I really love how I think you guys have been building to this for a long time, but it really has a journey line, the whole album start to finish. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think we try to make all our albums a bit of a journey. I think the first album was definitely like that, and this is sort of a continuation of what we learned, both musically and spiritually from that first record. We brought it more onto the Burning Dawn, but the Burning Dawn is a more concise, almost a more aggressive and violent sounding record in a lot of ways, but it's also the most poignant sounding record. It's got very emotional parts as well as it does angry parts, or aggressive parts as it does slow parts. So it's got a bit of what we do on both ends of the spectrum, almost to the extreme at this point. And who knows, in the future we'll maybe take one thing and go farther with that, and then or take another thing and go farther with that. It's just we don't want any boundaries on the way that we write music.
Nice. I also love that there's some subtle little piano on the record too.
Yeah, that's always been a very cool instrument to bring into this type of music. There's also some violin, there's cello on some parts. We also had a lot of that on the first record as well. So I think those sort of like, I guess, orchestra style instruments will kind of always be with us.
Killer. And it says a lot about you as writers. I think that's great.
Thank you.
So and then lyrically, right, there's so much emotion in there. I know you talked about anger and other things, but it really is a range of feelings. It's not just
and it's not even like it's just angry lyrics. It's just it just represents almost the spirit of something that has a angry aspect to it, I guess. It's kind of hard to put my finger on it, but it's definitely there and you can hear it. And it's got a range of emotions for sure. And I think that's my favorite part about music is the different emotions you can experience and where it takes you.
Awesome. And then one more thing about feelings is my feelings and our feelings on this album artwork, because it's really beautiful and it's really different. I think it's got a different vibe. It's a beautiful artwork, but it's also kind of muted, and a lot of music in this genre, a lot of artwork that represents the music in this genre is very severe, and I like that it's really not. Yeah,
it's kind of got that juxtaposition as you stated, and there's hidden elements in it that are representative of the lyrics and where the songs take you, just like how we've done all our artwork so far. So if you look for them and you actually read the lyrics, you'll see bits and pieces of them kind of hidden in there. So I think that's really important to have in the artwork.
Indeed. And usually I think a lot of people these days, especially with the resurgence of vinyl, people are really appreciating great album art and great art in general from bands, poster art. And you guys have always done, the logo is beautiful. You guys have a very cool, sleek style.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a journey even with the art to kind of find where we need to be, but that's just extremely important to me personally and to the band, that we have an art style, even the logo style that matches. I mean, you've seen how the logo has actually changed on this album to almost fit the sound, and who knows, maybe we'll have a different logo on the next album to go with that sound, or we'll stick with this one. It just depends where we are at the time. But yeah, the artwork and the imagery and the aesthetic really have to be on point with everything that we do.
Killer. So as we wind this down, because I want to give you back your time, especially if you want to rest your voice, we have just in the beginning of this tour now. What's coming up next for the rest of the year or early next year you can talk about?
Rest of the year, not too much after this. I think we're working on some plans to do a proper release show in our city of Atlanta, where we'll play the album all the way through. After that, we have some pretty exciting plans in the work early 2020. Can't say much about it now, but hopefully those plans will be out to the public pretty soon here. So we're going to be touring a lot on this album. That's the goal.
Killer. I actually feel like I would love to hear this entire album. Selfishly, I would like to hear this entire album performed live.
Yeah, come down to Atlanta.
Might have to.
Yeah.
Might have to. Hey, man, thanks for hanging out with
Thanks a lot.
I really appreciate you. Fantastic album out now by Cloak, out on the great label Season of Mist. I am Keefy from ghostcultmag.com. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks a lot.
We're out.